shall we? Yesterday at 3 o'clock, the Bears lose to the Lions, another devastating loss at the buzzer. Shortly after the game, Matt Eberflus defending the final play, saying, "I think we handled it the right way." At 9:05 this morning, Matt Eberflus meets with the media for his weekly day-after-game presser, 5 minutes late, dare I say. And then at 9:11 this morning, Matt Eberflus says he's confident he'll be working on his preparations for the 49ers this week. At 11:20 this morning, NFL insiders begin to report on the refiring of Matt Eberflus and promoting Thomas Brown to interim head coach. And at 12:02 this afternoon, the Chicago Bears confirm that Matt Eberflus has been let go, fired. And with that, we welcome you into this special edition of the Big Pro Football Show. We weren't planning on being here on our Thanksgiving Day weekend, but we are. I'm Ruthie Polinsky alongside David Haugh. David, want to get your thoughts, reaction? It's historic. The Bears have never fired a head coach in the middle of the season until today.
Significant, no doubt about it, Ruthie. We did not expect to be here. A lot of people did not expect to be talking about the Bears coaching search beginning, the end of the Matt Eberflus era. But if it ruined somebody's weekend, it made a lot of fans' seasons because they were waiting for this. This team has been underachieving. It's been one of the most disappointing teams in the NFL. When you start the season with expectations to be a playoff contender, and you're sitting there at 4-8, and 4 of your losses could be attributed to late game decision-making, problems with your head coach. The loudest one yesterday, Thanksgiving Day, against the Lions, a national television audience, which included the NFL community. The Bears did what they needed to do. They made history this morning. They waited too late to do it. What they did with Matt Eberflus, trotting him out there to a press conference that he had no business attending, that was unprofessional and classless. They have to be better than that in the search. Now it all begins. Thomas Brown gets an opportunity over the next 5 games to kind of throw his hat into the ring. But overall, this is the day that I think a lot of Bears fans knew was inevitable. We just have never been through it before because the Bears have never done this before.
The Bears had no business being in that Lions game after the way that the first half went, let alone the disparity between where the two teams are in their seasons.
Right.
The way that they lost the game, don't you think that played such a huge impact on the decision-making? And why did they allow Matt Eberflus to come out for that 9 o'clock press conference if they knew last night that this was going to be the decision today?
I think that answers the question, because had they been anticipating this and a loss to the Lions would have meant a coaching change, they would have been more prepared. They seem very unprepared. And what happened in the final 36 seconds, the meltdown in Motown, if you will, call a timeout already. Caleb Williams, call a timeout. Somebody call a timeout. They didn't. And so it was such a loud error and a huge mistake that the Bears really couldn't recover from it. He had lost all credibility, not only in the NFL community, but in his own locker room. So you look at his resume in one-score games, that was the 19th loss. This Bears team has a 4-8 record. They could easily be 7-5. They could possibly be 8-4. This roster has playoff caliber talent.
Yeah.
It's being mismanaged, and the head coach was having an impact on Sundays like we asked him to do, but it was a negative impact, so he had to go.
How do you think the development of Caleb Williams played a part in this decision? Because over the time period of Thomas Brown taking over offensive play calling, and we'll get to Thomas Brown in a moment here, but over those games, we've seen Caleb Williams take a giant, astronomical leap, and he's leading his team back in fourth quarter, end of game, late game situations. And then it seems to be that it's the coaching decisions that are losing them these games. How big of a decision is it to see the quarterback progress while the coach is seemingly coming short?
It's interesting because it's individual, but you want your development of your quarterback to also include victories. You want him to have some reward for all of the progress that he is making. So I think that's the piece that we didn't always anticipate was like, well, we assumed that if Caleb Williams was going to have a rookie season that we thought he could and was capable of with all of that on talent and generational talent, all the things that we called him, you assumed the Bears were going to be winning as he did that. But that wasn't the case because the coaching staff, the head coach specifically, could not get out of his way. So the Bears have gotten to be the team where they're winning because of Caleb Williams, but he was succeeding in spite of Matt Eberflus. So I think now they get a chance to marry the play caller and the interim head coach together with the quarterback and see how that goes for the final 5 games.
Mark Grody from 670 The Score is going to join us after the commercial break. And I want to talk to him about sort of the reaction in the locker room yesterday, because I think that's important as well. When the players start to speak out against the coaching decisions, for example, DJ Moore, how about this? You're just like, what the hell? Nah, it's like, what the bleep? But it is what it is. It's not, it is what it is. But we've got to find a way to win. We keep coming back in these games, and we have time to actually win the game, and we just bleep the bed.
It's a pointless debate, but you wonder when he lost the team. Was it yesterday? Nah. Was it Indianapolis? Maybe. Was it pick a loss? But he might have lost the team in training camp. They went into the season with a leadership deficit, you seem like, at the most important job, because you had guys like Mercedes Lewis and the leadership council. They had 8 captains. Was that the good news or the bad news? What you had with 8 captains was guys who felt empowered. They talk a lot, these Bears. They don't win a lot. They talk a lot. But I think that they felt like they could lead this team in spite of Matt Eberflus, who wasn't the strongest leader. So I think as we continue to talk about this, what's next for the Bears, yeah, you could talk about the fancy play callers. We'll talk about the offensive innovators. Great. Show me a leader, and I'll show you a candidate.
All right, well, speaking of leaders, Thomas Brown is taking over as now interim head coach, also will still be offensive coordinator. So this guy's had quite the month taking over in his change of roles. This is someone that commands the room, and we've talked about it at length on this program and all around these airwaves in this city. But what do you make of the way that this transition is going to change the course of the season? Because at this point, what do wins mean? But what do wins mean?
Wins mean a lot if you're Thomas Brown, because he's got 5 games to make his case to be an impactful head coach, to be an impactful play caller. If they win more than they lose, given who they're playing, Thomas Brown will be a viable head coaching candidate. If they don't, and you see progress in Caleb Williams, he'll be a candidate. I don't know how viable. I think it would be so Chicago to get over our skis and maybe exaggerate the importance of a play caller of a 5-12 team. Because you look at the numbers there with Thomas Brown, Caleb Williams has shown growth. He's getting it. Part of that is Thomas Brown, but I think a lot of that is Caleb Williams. This is the arc we expected him to be on. And I don't think that he's going to be one of these guys that takes a step back regardless of his coaching. This is so Bears. We talked about them making history. This is really history repeating itself. The last 3 times they have drafted a quarterback in the first round, that quarterback has had a different coach his second season. Mitch Trubisky, Justin Fields, and now Caleb Williams facing the same reality. So all the history that we can talk about they made today, we've been down this road before.
The Bears have something to play for now, maybe rallying around someone that they really believe in, and maybe they can help him, right? Help him out as they close out the season here. As though they're are they in the hunt, the Bears? No, it's out, mathematically eliminated?
They're in the hunt for a head coach.
Okay,
That's it. That's the only thing they're hunting for.
But you know what they're in the hunt for is to maybe help out a guy that they really care about and are rallying around in Thomas Brown.
That's a really good point, and that's something that you cannot you cannot overlook because of the power of positivity. He's got charisma, and these guys in this team desperate to be led. Matt Eberflus, it just wasn't his thing. He clicked with his defense. Last year, he brought them back, and he pushed the right buttons. As a head coach, he was a very good defensive coordinator. But as a defensive coordinator, he was a lousy head coach.